So, hey guys, Pro Prep Baseball here. Ken Arnold with
Tommy Weber.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us on a Sunday night. It is 8 p.m., so we're here to talk about some baseball. We got some good things to talk about tonight. We've got our top 5 shortstops of all time. Tommy Weber, we had a game today. We're going to talk about that.
Oh, do we have to?
We have to, a little bit, and then we'll talk about the playoffs a little bit, and what you think so far, what you've seen, and what's going on with the playoffs, and who do you think will move on to the World Series, and who do you think would win the World Series?
Okay.
So let me jump over right here to Pro Prep Baseball, and yep, there we are. There we go. All right, yeah, we're looking good over there. Hopefully we'll get some comments. Maybe we should invite some friends. Like, we actually have people who like us. I don't know. Does anybody like us? I don't know.
Renee likes us.
Renee likes us. I sent Renee a T-shirt. He got it the other day. So,
hey, I just want you to know, I took this assignment very, very seriously. I've been doing lots of research, been crunching a lot of numbers. You know me. I'm a big numbers guy. I spent all week with my analytics department trying to, a la Dr. Frankenstein, create the 5, or actually go back and recreate the 5 perfect shortstops. So
fantastic. There we go. Guess who's on? Diorio.
Renee Miranda.
Diorio's on. We're in trouble.
Oh, boy.
Straighten your act out. All right. So, Andy's in. Renee's here. All right. I'm not seeing comments coming over from Renee is commenting like crazy already. He's here. He's on YouTube. Yeah, number 5 all-time shortstops. But I haven't seen the we're not getting any comments on Pro Prep Baseball, and I know Andy's commenting because he said he did. I don't know, so I'm hoping. There he is, Brian O'Neill. There he is. So I've got a comment.
O'Neill, all right.
There he goes. Yeah, we got him. We got the comments coming from Pro
Now, here's
Prep.
how it's going to be, Brian, all right? I want to make this perfectly clear because I don't want to get into a fight with anybody 5 minutes into the show, okay?
All right, go ahead.
It's the 5 greatest shortstops of all time. However you define shortstop and great is up to you. I'm telling you, the 5 guys who, if I had to pick 5 greatest shortstops of all time, I did have a couple of criteria.
Okay, go ahead.
One was I had post-1950, right, real modern-day players.
Fair enough.
And I decided I had to see all except one.
All right.
So my own criteria was I had to see them.
Okay.
And every single guy I saw in his prime play a lot except for one guy.
All right. Fair enough. So let's get right into it. Why don't we just do that?
All
We'll
right.
jump right into the top 5 shortstops.
Can I?
Go ahead. Yes.
Oh, I can go? Can I go
you
first?
can go. You can go first this week. You go first, and I will sit and listen, and then I'll come in and tell you what I think.
All right. So my first guy is a guy I never saw play. Well, he probably just finished playing as I was semi-conscious with respect to baseball. So and that would be Louis Aparicio.
All right, fair enough. Louis Aparicio.
From what I hear from people who I have great respect for, my dad and all those guys that were the stewards of the game back then, the best baseball people I ever knew, Aparicio was without a peer. He was just a fabulous, fabulous defensive shortstop, a great player, and a great impact on his team. So Aparicio's one. Not one. I'm going to build up to my. I'm going to go to one. Basically, my bottom 3 are interchangeable, and my top 2 are my top 2. I would then go to Mark Belanger.
The
Blade was just wow. Part of, in my opinion, the greatest left side defensively in the history of the game. He and Brooks Robinson spent a number of years together. The Blade played with a friend of mine in AAA and went the entire season without committing a throwing error. I think he made like 4 errors in one season. None were of the throwing variety. He was as good as you could get fundamentally, and just a magnificent part of that great Oriole dynasty that they had, which was built around great pitching, some speed, intermittent power, and fantastic defense. All right, so that's 2. 3, this will go 3-2-1.
Okay.
3 is Omar Vizquel.
Mm-hmm.
Vizquel was just a insane defensive shortstop and a good enough offensive player to be a great shortstop. When you play a premium position like that at that level, how much you hit is a bonus because you can. It's one of the few positions. It's like catcher, where you can literally drive in runs with your glove, and Omar Vizquel did just that. Number 2 is Derek Jeter. Jeter is, in my opinion, the prototypical complete shortstop. A great player who could hit, drive in runs, great defender, and he did 2 things that I never saw a shortstop do. First of all, he invented that jump throw move. And the other thing he did that you can certainly identify with is he's the only player I ever saw at that position make the play in front of him two-handed. I have never seen anybody do that. He was an absolute magician with that play. He was the most sure-handed shortstop over a long period of time that I saw. Just everything that was hit at him, he made the play. And yes, did his range diminish as he got older? But that goes for everyone's range diminishes as they get older. But no one shined in the spotlight with more grace and more success at the premium position in the premium ballpark in the premium city than Derek Jeter. I think history is going to be very kind to a guy like Derek Jeter. And last is a player who is amongst the 3 players I saw in my lifetime who played the position in such a revolutionary way that no one has ever played it like them since. And I think he's one of the truly great players of all time, and that's Ozzie Smith. Ozzie Smith was simply an acrobat playing shortstop. He had incredible range, the greatest pair of hands maybe I've ever seen, and just did things on the field that were unthinkable. I think he had 600 and some odd assists with the San Diego Padres. He also made the best infield defensive play I've ever seen on that line drive that goes back behind
ridiculous.
him.
Yeah,
that he's diving
ridiculous.
for.
Are you kidding?
And grabs with one hand.
Yes.
And the famous pop-up play in St. Louis was also a great play. But Ozzie Smith, Whitey Herzog once said that Ozzie Smith drives in more runs defensively than Jack Clark does with his bat. So those are my 5.
All right, very good list. That's an excellent list. Brian O'Neill wanted to know if we were going more of a defensive criteria or overall.
No, those are. You're asking me to, if I'm the manager of a team, you're asking me to pick my 5 preferences, my 5 preferred guys. Mm-hmm. Those would be it.
All right, excellent job. All right, I did.
Oh, by the way, I have 2 honorable mentions.
Okay, go.
Cal Ripken.
Yep.
Because Cal Ripken was just a great, great player who had a tremendous influence on his team, a great impact. And Bud Harrelson, another guy who, when you watched him, you realized how great he was relative to the team he played on. Tom Seaver always says their MVP in those 2 pennant-winning teams in 69 and 73. In 69, they win. Mm-hmm. In 73, they lose in 7 to Reggie Jackson and the A's. The MVP on those teams and in that run that the Mets had was Bud Harrelson.
I see that Andy's commenting on our video, but none of it is popping up here. Like everybody else's is, but Andy's, which is kind of strange.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so I'm not seeing what's coming up from you, Andy, on the thing. I see Dan Ford just joined, and his comment just came up. So, Renee Miranda said David Concepcion better than Harrelson in his mind. But, you know what I like about Buddy Harrelson is actually he picked me up from the airport one time, Buddy Harrelson.
That's weird.
Right?
Sounds weird.
It is. Sounds like crazy. It's
really?
Yeah, when I was playing in the Atlantic League, I was coming in and he happened to be nearby. So He was like, yeah, don't worry about it. I'll go get him. So he came to pick. He knew me from the season before. But he gave me one of the greatest compliments ever. He goes, you know what? He goes, you know what, kid? He goes, I like the way you play shortstop.
There you go.
And coming from Buddy Harrelson, that's pretty goddamn
absolutely
good. So I was very happy when I heard that. So, and it wasn't Uber, Renee. There was no such thing as Uber back then.
And I think Renee is right. Concepcion parallels Harrelson in a lot of ways, that he was a cornerstone of a dynasty team. The Mets weren't a dynasty, but they had two pennant winners. You could make that argument. Concepcion was a great player. He was a great player.
I'm going to run through my honorable mentions first, Webbs, if you don't mind, and then I'll jump into my top 5.
Go ahead.
Now, I did some statistical research and did my analytics.
I'm sorry you did that.
I'm sorry you did that. I totally did, but not really. So, but my honorable mention, guys, and it's a pretty good list of players who, when they were younger, were incredible shortstops, but they didn't play shortstop for their entire career. They played a lot, or at least half their career, somewhere else, whether it be first base, third base, center field. So I've got A-Rod. Fantastic the first 10 years of his career, but once he jumped over to the Yankees and moved to third base, he just didn't have enough time at shortstop, in my opinion, to be one of the greatest shortstops of all time. But in that 10-year decade,
tremendous.
Nobody better, driving in runs and hitting home runs, and batting average and defense. Defensively, he was really good, and for his size.
You can make an argument A-Rod's one of the 10 greatest players of all time.
Barry Larkin.
Tremendous.
Fantastic. Consistent shortstop. Played many years in Cincinnati. But he only had, at his peak, he had 2,340 hits. That's it. That's it.
Yeah,
that's all he had.
I think Larkin was a really good player. Olympic gold medal winner. University of Michigan, I believe.
Yes.
Who, of course, is the arch rival of the Ohio State Buckeyes. Yeah. I'm wearing that today. My guy, Dom Canzone. But I never thought of Larkin as great. I thought of Larkin as really, really good. Terrific offensive player. I didn't think he was a great defender, but he's a Hall of Famer. He's had a great career. So I think it's a good honorable mention.
Okay. Robin Yount.
Great player.
Great player. But again, most of his career, or over half of his career, was in center field. Not at shortstop.
Was it 18? He was 18 or 19 in the big leagues?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. He was one of the youngest guys to ever put him on and lace him up and play in the big leagues.
Yeah.
So, Ernie Banks. Mr.
Let's play two.
Mr.
Let's
Cub.
play two.
Right? His numbers are right up there, over 500
home runs.
Yeah. But again, played almost half his career, if not more than half his career, at first base. Alan Trammell.
Terrific player.
Yeah, him and Lou Whitaker. What an incredible double play combination for so many years in Detroit.
Forever.
Yeah. Joe Cronin, just his numbers alone. He's an old guy. I never saw him play. Saw highlight stuff and old pictures of him, And that's pretty much it for my honorable mentions. Pee Wee Reese, I don't know. I don't know enough about him. Brooklyn Dodger, again, I don't know if he deserves to be in that conversation of the greatest shortstops of all time. But here's my actual top 5 that I want to get to. And it's very close to Brian O'Neill's, who put up, his number 5 was Jeter, his number 4 was Ripken, his number 3 was Vizquel, his number 2 was Honus Wagner, and his number 1 was Ozzie Smith. Again, we didn't see Honus Wagner. We don't.
Yeah, that's why I had my cutoff at like 1950. I mean, it's hard for me to go back. I mean, I understand. I'm sure Honus Wagner has to be, on that list. But
his numbers are incredible.
Right. For the purposes of doing this, I just decided I had to see, 4 out of the 5 guys, which I did. Which I think is the ultimate test. That's I think why it was. As my father got older, I made sure I always talked baseball with my father all the time, but I really. Towards the end, I made sure I was having these long conversations about baseball because I wanted to get his impression of players that I didn't see. So I really knew, I was able to see them through my father's eyes. And guys who, guys like Pee Wee Reese and Rizzuto, they were great players on great teams. And I think the game's always changing. And I think those guys were great because of the value they had to their team, not some value based on combine skills. Like Pee Wee Reese is the greatest shortstop ever for the Brooklyn Dodgers. He was the right guy on that team. And shortstop and catcher and even pitcher, I think, are that kind of position. you could be a guy who's much more valuable on one team than you are to maybe other teams. It's not, it's not like an automobile where it's got an open market and you bid for it and basically it's the same value to everyone. Certain guys, horses for courses. And I think that, guys like Jeter are a perfect example. Jeter was the right guy at the right time in the right place, and he went and ran with it.
So Danny Ford said that people get arrested for drinking beer on YouTube.
Do they really?
I don't know. But I'm not drinking beer. This is just like strange.
I'm just glad
water.
I didn't get arrested for drinking beer on the way home from Central Connecticut State University.
Oh, good God. Oh, my God.
Oh, I'm just glad. That's all.
Thank God Howie was driving.
Yeah.
We'll blame it on him. Thanks,
Yes.
Howie.
Yeah.
So anyway, let me get into my top five.
Let's go. Let's hear
Let me get it. All right. So my number five, actually, Omar Vizquel. So he was on your list. Fantastic player. Ridiculous player. He had actually the best fielding percentage of all the shortstops we've named so far.
Insane.
Yes. So he had the best fielding percentage at a 985 fielding percentage, which is the highest of the bunch of guys that I'm going to rattle off. He was even higher than Ozzie Smith. Ozzie had a 976 fielding percentage, Ozzie Smith, which is still incredible for a shortstop.
Yeah, so, I think Vizquel is one of the most underrated players of all time.
Yes. He had 2,887 hits. That's pretty darn good. Over a 24-year career. He played for 24 years. Yeah, it wasn't like he played for 18 and was out. 24. That's a long time. He had a career 272 average, and he won 10 Gold Gloves over his career, which is really, it's pretty darn good.
Sounds like the Hall of Fame to me.
Yeah, sounds like the Hall of Fame for me too. Is he eligible yet?
Oh yeah,
he's got to get in.
He's probably off the ballot.
Yeah, he's got to get in though.
I bet you he's off the ballot. He probably didn't get enough of a percentage of votes, and his name's off the ballot. I guarantee you.
Yeah. All right. So my number 4 guy, Cal Ripken. Boom, the Iron Man. There he is. Yeah. So he just everything. His home runs, he had over 400 home runs. He had over 3,000 hits. He had, of course, the 2,632 straight games, and
you can't argue Cal Ripken.
You can't argue at all. He was just uncanny at positioning himself, knowing where to position himself, knowing where to, just be at all times. He was big. Did he have great range? No, but he knew where to be. Right, and that in and of itself is a great skill. It's a great skill.
Range. You don't need range if the ball's always hit at you.
Right at you. Exactly. He just had that weird, uncanny knack of being able to do that.
That's what happens when you grow up in the minor leagues. His father was a minor league manager. You grow up in the game, understanding instincts and all the subtle nuances of the game that make you a great player. And also, he was a great player who had instincts. You're not born with those instincts. You got to develop them. And his father was a true old school minor league guy who stressed fundamentals. And even when he talks now, I mean, he's so far and above what these other guys have. I mean, his credibility is so tremendous compared to these other guys on the MLB network. It's like night and day.
Yeah. So we had a big event down here in Annapolis this past week, by the way, involving Cal Ripken. I just want to put that out there. Mr. Ripken got married again. So, yeah, he just got married to a judge, by the way.
Why would he do that?
I don't know why he wouldn't do that again. I'll ask him next time I see him, because he's around the neighborhood now. So I'll ask him. Of course, he lives on the other side of the tracks where all the big houses are.
Once you have root canal, you're not looking to do it again, are you?
Exactly. What's the matter with you, Cal? What are you thinking? But she's a judge, and she's pretty hot for a judge. So I don't know. I guess.
All right.
Maybe she was like, put a ring on it, or that's it.
Best of luck.
Yep. Best of luck, Cal. Good luck to you, man. All right, my number 3. I'm sorry. My number 3, who could very easily be my number 1. My guys are interchangeable too. Derek Jeter, the captain. There he is. Unbelievable player. Again, a guy who just knew where to position himself. Just knew he sensed things that were going to happen like 3 steps ahead of everybody else.
Yep.
So
yep.
you remember the play, the relay
Yep.
throw from the right field line. He runs over.
The flip.
No shortstop in there is there. None. He just knew to get there and still completed the play. That just.
And Shane Spencer overthrew 2 guys on that. That's one of the worst throws ever.
Yeah, and and the base runner had it was Giambi's brother.
Jeremy.
Yeah, Jeremy. He had no idea that he thought he was going to score easy. And all of a sudden, the ball's there.
It's the most heads-up play I've ever seen.
Ever in the history of the game. So, Derek Jeter, and then this guy, Honus Wagner, or Hannes Wagner, however you want to say it. I wish I owned this baseball card.
Nice uniform.
Oh,
I love that.
Fantastic.
That's
Look at
nice.
that. Look at that hair. So check this dude out. That's his baseball card, right? But check this picture out. Boom. He's 19 years old right there.
That's why I didn't get cast in the natural. There you go.
Oh my God, he looks 1,000 years old. Did you see how old he looked?
It looks like his old timers photo.
Oh my God, look at him. Wow. He looks like he's 100, and he's probably like 27 right there. 27 years old. Are you kidding me? Jesus. Wow. It must have been rough living back in the early 1900s.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
He probably worked the whole day in the coal mine and then came out to the ballpark.
And was drinking the whole time.
Right.
Oh, and of course, number one. Same as you. That guy.
Look at that.
Number 1. Upside down. He's upside down.
Look at that. Wow.
Look at that. He would go out on the field like that. Just the showmanship of him going out and being energetic and doing flips like that. And then, of course, here's him just turning a double play like it's just another day. Just nice and easy, little flip, whoop, to first base.
Yeah, always in motion, always moving. I saw him at Shea Stadium once in BP. He was taking some ground balls, and they were doing a double play, and he was throwing a ball. He was taking the throw from Tommy Herr, and he was throwing it to first base. He was looking into center field. Come on, man, really.
Just practicing like it was nothing. I'm just going to look over here, look to first base.
Right.
Whoop.
Yep.
Insane.
Yeah.
So, never got to play with, of the list, I got to play with Cal Ripken. I got to play when I was with the Orioles. I got to take ground balls with him. I actually went in for him in an exhibition game. I went in for him, and I got booed. Can you imagine now playing shortstop for the Orioles?
Well, it's better than getting booed for going in for like Frank Taveras or somebody like that.
So I go in for Ripken. They're like number 87.
Yeah, at least it's a name. It's a name brand,
right? And then Ken Arnold. And before I took 2 steps, they were like, boo! The whole stadium booed me. I just waved to him. Thanks, thanks for I appreciate it. But. Yeah, he's the only one I got an opportunity to play against or play with. But, of course, I've seen Omar play. I, of course, saw Derek Jeter play many times. And I did get to see Ozzie Smith play against the Cubs early in the early 90s. So he was still playing. So.
Nobody did it like that guy.
So incredible. So Renee put his list up. He had A-Rod at number 5, Jeter at 4, Ripken at 3, Ozzie at 2, and Omar Vizquel at 1. His honorable mentions were Concepcion, Belanger, Aparicio, Cronin, and Wagner. So.
Right. So what's the takeaway from all? The takeaway from this is that there have been a lot of great shortstops. Too often today, the conversation about who's the best comes down to some analytic or some ridiculous, obscure statistic that proves one guy is better than the next. The bottom line here is that of all those players, right, who are all great, the guy you take is the guy that best fits your team, because you can't lose by taking any one of them. They're all great. Yeah. It's just who's the best fit for your team. And I think too often general managers nowadays are looking for some guy who somehow analytically fits in perfect with their operation, and that guy doesn't exist. That's why the eye test, to me, is always the supreme way of determining who the best player is, because it's always the best player for you, because I don't think you could rule out taste when selecting a player. You might just have an affinity for a certain kind of guy, whereas another guy doesn't, and you've got to let that kind of factor into your selection of a player.
Mm-hmm. We got Campy Campaneris.
Sure, threw the bat at I think he threw the bat at. I want to say
pitcher was that? Yeah.
Dick Boswell. Was that Dick Boswell? It was Detroit Tigers.
Yeah, all I know is like he flung it like this.
He fired that. He helicoptered that thing.
That thing was.
Listen,
wow.
Every reaction has an equal and opposite reaction. You throw at me, you might get something thrown back at you.
Yep. So, of the shortstops today that are currently playing, who do you think could possibly break into our top 5, or just be a really good career shortstop and with a possible Hall of Fame career?
If I had one player in Major League Baseball to start my team around, I would probably take Lindor from Cleveland.
Okay.
I think he plays the premium position as well as anybody. He's got he hits for power, he hits for average, he runs. He's a fantastic defender. He's young. I really like Lindor a lot.
Okay.
That would be my guy.
Did you just hear yourself again? That was amazing.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
My computer reset itself, which was weird. The internet just reset itself. I don't know why. But yeah, I love Lindor is a phenomenal defender. I really think and he puts the ball in play, which is
I would stay away from Machado. He's a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
and I think if you get Machado, you're gonna rue the day you got him at some point in time. Yep. Just not my never has been. He's always been just a little too. I don't know. There's always been some issues with this kid, and yesterday he didn't run out a ground ball, and you're going to get a lot of that. So he better really be a monster player for you if you're going to hitch your wagon to that guy for 6 or 7 years, and I just don't see it. I would stay away from him.
Yeah, Correa, I don't know. I saw him botch a pretty routine play yesterday that should have been made easily, and you know what? I never saw Omar Vizquel do that.
Yeah, I agree.
Do that. I never saw Ozzie do that. Botch a simple play, and he did in a playoff game in a pretty, specific spot. Gregorius is a good shortstop. I'm not saying he's not bad.
Very good.
Brian O'Neill, he's good, but he's not going to be a Hall of Famer. I don't think.
Correa too is a guy. I don't want to go after a guy who I think I could see playing another position.
Yeah, you talking about third base? You think?
I could just see him. I could just see him getting moved.
Yeah.
I want a guy who I'm not moving. There's nobody's going to move Lindor at a shortstop.
Yeah.
Not in today's game. The kid's just ridiculous. And I also like, and when you get to the top of the food chain like that, I like his energy. I just like the way he looks. Seems to enjoy the game. He runs. He's got energy. He's got some leadership skills. That starts to become important when everybody's really close in ability.
Yeah, when you get to that level, what do you have that puts you ahead of that other guy?
Right.
Right. And like you said, if you're not going to run out a ground ball, I'm looking for a Derek Jeter.
Game.
Yeah, I'm looking for a Derek Jeter that runs the ball every time, every time.
I agree. I like Didi Gregorius. I think Didi Gregorius is a really good player.
Mm-hmm.
I just think Lindor is better all around.
All right, fair enough. What about Trevor Story?
That kid's good.
Yeah, I mean he's young. He doesn't have enough. I don't think he's got enough. Big enough body of work.
Right. He looks really good.
Yeah, I think he's really good. Crawford, I think from the Giants is decent. But again, Crawford's not a Hall of Fame guy. But I think
I'll tell you what. I saw Crawford twice now in person. First of all, he's enormous. I can't believe how big he is. And he is a great shortstop. He really is, man. He could play that position. Wow. He's really good.
Yeah. I played against Garcia Parra, Nomar. I wasn't impressed.
Yeah, I never thought he was a great shortstop. He could hit and he could run and do all that other stuff.
Yeah, I thought he was okay. I never played against Derek. I just missed him, as a matter of fact. The weekend I got moved. We were going to play in Albany, the Albany Yankees. He got moved up. I was like, man, just missed him. But there's a bat online that you can buy on eBay for $1,250 that has my autograph on it. But it also has Derek Jeter's autograph right above mine. So that's why it's $1,250. How ridiculous is that?
I've never quite understood the whole memorabilia thing, but okay.
Me either. Okay. But that's why it's worth $1,250. It is not worth $1,250 because Ken Arnold's autograph is over there.
If
it's the one right above my name, Jeter. There, $1,250.
If you got Jesus's autograph, maybe I'd pay that much, but
$1,250, and this was like 5 years ago. This was 5 years ago, Webb. $1,250. It had a lot of other autographs on it, but $1,250. I was like, geez.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm not buying that. Forget it. Forget it. I don't know what these guys. This whole memorabilia thing is out of control. These guys are paying ridiculous amounts of money for this stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you'll regret it.
I don't know. I have a Mickey Mantle signed book. That the last book he wrote. My girlfriend in college, she worked for the publishing company. She went and had him sign it for me.
So she was hot.
Yeah, well,
She was hot.
Yeah, she was hot because she got me that book. She got wise to the whole Ken Arnold act and moved along.
Yeah, a few of them did. A few of them
did. Yeah, they got wise and moved along. But I finally, got one to stick with me for a little while. But she's probably going to be moving on soon too. So.
Hey, nothing's forever, man. Nothing's forever. You got to move on. You got to move on.
You know what? I'm going to go see if Cal can set me up with a judge or something. I don't know.
Oh, let me just tell you this. If your wife moves on, you'll be seeing a judge. Don't worry about it. There will be a judge.
And maybe it'll be her. It'll be Ripken's wife, and she'll help me out. Yeah.
Marty Marion. Yes, Marty Marion was another great shortstop. Johnny Pesky with the Red Sox.
Yeah. When I was growing up, we had, of course, Bucky Dent.
Larry Boa.
I have a bat from Larry Boa that I have. That is one of my favorite memorabilia pieces. I haven't had him sign it yet, but I'm working on that. Maybe one day before he dies. So let's move on from our shortstops, and yes. I want to move to a topic that you can identify with. So this guy who's a friend of mine. He's with the Rockies. He asked me to do some workouts. So I do a couple of workouts for these teams. They're like 15 and 16 years old. Beautiful facility out in South Jersey. Okay.
Central Jersey, actually, New Brunswick.
Scanzo? Is this Scanzo?
No.
No? Okay.
No. Mike Garlotti. So I'm just always taken aback every time I do these things because I meet the coaches and the manager, and they're all the same guy. They're like right out of Central Casting. They're these fit young guys, and they got the bad facial hair and the sunglasses and the stopwatch and the clipboard. They've got all the toys, right? And the big fungo, and they're ready to go fungoing, and he just asked me to watch and give him some comments on how they can do stuff better or whatever. And it's just amazing to me how much activity goes on and how much time is spent and how little is achieved. They're hitting fungos to the outfielders. First of all, they're hitting them from almost home plate, which already is extremely inefficient because you're hitting them from too far away, so you can't get as many in as you really could if you were closer to the outfielder. And, of course, they're hitting them like rockets, so they're difficult for kids to field.
And they can't hit them. They're not accurate.
Right, they can't really hit them. And also what's happening is they're making throws, and the throws are not accurate. They're not one long hop throws. They're trying to throw it on a fly, and balls are going all over the place. And now it's just utter chaos, yelling at the guy what to do. And instead of creating an environment where, first of all, the player could do it perfectly, find the speed at which the player can do it well, right? Rather than yelling at him when he can't do it at the speed you're giving him the ball, there is no instruction. There's no telling the player, hey, one long hop. If the ball bounces, just pick it up and throw it in. They'll put it back in your glove. All these things that if you learn them, they make you a more efficient player. None of it goes on. Yeah. And I'm happy I'm asked to do it, and I enjoy working with players more than anything. But every time I leave so saddened because I know this is the way it is basically everywhere. Mm-hmm. Everywhere. Mm-hmm. And it just really it's very disappointing, and I feel for the players. Now I understand why so few kids really are accomplished players.
I was doing the high school showcases. It wasn't really a showcase. When I first started, it wasn't a showcase. We were actually there to teach the kids. we were there to instruct. We were there to work with the kids. We were,
Right.
you know, if there was something that happened, you know, we would say, hey, you need to get down a little bit. You need to get your
Right,
hands out
right.
more, all of that. Well, as time progressed and time went on, it just turned out that I was just a babysitter. I wasn't doing any more instruction. I was just hitting ground balls. And, you know, and the guy who ran the camp would come over and go, yeah, don't stop or anything like that. Just hit him and let the guy see him throw and field and do all that. I said, well, you know, he asked me back, and I was like, no, I don't want to come back.
It's funny you say that because there were a whole bunch of parents there, and the parents loved it. And what they loved was they were seeing activity.
Yeah.
And as long as they see activity, they think that something's being achieved. When it's really, John Wooden used to always say, don't confuse activity with achievement. And that's what we do. Hi, Andy. Hi, Andy Diorio.
Yes, Andy's on. Andy, did DeGrom win yet? That's all I want to know. I thought I saw his Cy Young Award.
We're not going there. We're not going there.
I thought I saw that Cy Young Award in the pumpkin patch you were visiting. That picture you posted of the pumpkins. It was in there somewhere. You should go in and search. Yes, we're not going there. We're talking about we did our top 5 shortstops. Now we're on showcases that are no longer instructional. Which again, yes, it's very disappointing because I want to teach. I want to teach people or teach the kids what I learned when I was playing. Things that,
even the practices aren't instructional.
No.
Okay, I understand a showcase is just that. You get up there, you get 6 minutes on the field to show that you're, you know, Cal Ripken, which is absurd and a waste of time anyway. But that's a different waste of time. Now you're having practices where they're not instructive. They're not instructional, where it's about, as a matter of fact, one of the guys said to me, you know, we're getting ready. We're going to have a showcase next. We want to get them ready for the showcase. What does that mean?
Get them ready to throw the ball hard 3 times and
Right.
take like 10 swings.
Right. And if you're a coach and you go to one of these showcases, how can you take this seriously? Do you really evaluate players based on 4 balls hit to them in the field and 7 swings that they get? Or a catcher who's getting the ball flipped to him, who's trying to throw the ball as quickly as he can so he registers the shortest pop time? Wow. There's a lot of enabling going on in the game today.
Yeah, somebody asked me today about high school games. They were like, do they still do high school games? I go, yeah, but nobody comes and watches them. They're like, what do you mean? I said, well, they would rather go to one of these tournaments, these showcase tournaments, where they see a lot of people at one time.
Yeah.
As opposed to
Absolutely.
seeing maybe 1 or 2 guys that might be good on a high school team, you know, that has the potential to play at a Division I or professional level. So
I see what
didn't
Brian
get it.
O'Neill says. Brian O'Neill says the same for every sport. I see it with my kids with soccer. Yeah,
Yes,
well, that's
it
because
is.
the ingredient that makes it toxic is the same in every sport, and that is the adult.
Parents.
There's
The
too
parent,
many
yeah.
adults. I'm sorry. Just too many.
Too many.
Drop
Let
your
'em-
kid off. Go get a cup of coffee. Go have an affair with your secretary. Do whatever you have to do, and come back 2 hours later and pick your kid up.
Yeah, I was reading something the other day online. Somebody said, and it might have been Scanzo, the guy from South Jersey, where he said that there's too much instruction. You don't let the kids go out and play on their own and just, you know,
So there's no free play.
be
no
the
free play.
lifeguard. Be the lifeguard, but
Right.
just sit back and let
Oh,
them
no.
do whatever.
Can't do that. How many
Yeah.
guys have I heard? Oh, I can't let anybody coach my kid. Why not?
Why not?
What makes you such an expert? It's the best thing a kid could do is go learn from somebody else or not learn. He'll get it. Believe me.
They'll figure it out. Right? But let them figure it out. The kids, like today in the games, and we're going to talk about my game now. Sorry, I know you didn't want to, but here we are.
No, I love hearing about your game.
So it comes down to, in these games with these kids, is they have no baseball situational
Pedigree. Pedigree.
situational awareness. They don't know balls hit to them, and they just like, I don't know what to do with it. You don't know that you have a man on first base, you have a force out at second, or you could throw it to first if you can't make that out. I mean, that's not that hard to figure out. But they get the ball hit to them, and then they panic. They're like, huh. I'm like, what? How? How do you not know at the age of 13 that that's what you're supposed to do if a ground ball is hit to you?
Brian
You either go to
O'Neill.
second or you go to first.
O'Neill and Andy are right, and they're wrong. But They're both right. First of all, the
Yeah.
pocket in your back pocket is absurd.
I never needed that. Did you need that?
The arrogance that you're going to know the exact spot. What's the difference if you're there or a foot left or a foot right? It's absurd. That's number one. There is no such thing as an instinct in baseball. You're only born with a couple of instincts. You develop these things, for lack of a better word, that we call baseball instincts by doing it over and over and over again in 1,000 different circumstances. When things get highly structured and regulated, you don't see enough circumstances to develop these instincts. And look, I understand it's the only game in town. If your kid doesn't play for one of these structured programs, he doesn't play because he could go outside on his own all day long. He'll be by himself. There's nobody else to play with. He could go to a schoolyard. There's nobody else to play with. So I understand this is the only way to do it. But the flip side of that is that's why the Latin American kid and the international kid is dominating baseball and will continue to do so into the future because they just play all day long amongst themselves. There aren't 15 adults at the game. Nobody's bringing them their Gatorade. They spend all day long playing baseball, and that's why they're in the major leagues.
Yeah, and Andy makes a good point here. Baseball instincts comes from playing in your yard with your friends, watching the game, and appreciating the game. None of that happens anymore with kids today. And
Why?
I was saying that on the ride home today to my son and my mother who was in the car. She was asking me, what's the problem? Why don't they get it? And I say, well, they don't play outside. They don't watch baseball. And they don't know it. They don't know the game because they're not involved in it.
You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. You can't have parents thinking, I need to be at every one of my kids' games, and have your kid have an independent experience. The two are mutually exclusive. So if you're a parent, and I know everybody thinks this way, I got to see my kid play every game and go to every practice, it's impossible for him to have the very experience that you admit he needs to have. What you need is you need to create now places where kids could go, convene, bats and balls get thrown out, parents have to leave, and kids could play for as long as they want. Then you would have an independent experience where kids would organically own their own game. Instead, what you have is twice a week instruction in some garage with AstroTurf and a net that people actually think helps their kid. Well, it really doesn't. It's a waste of your time and money, but every other kid does it, so you do it. And travel ball, which amounts to driving 300 miles to play 3 games against kids that live across the street from you.
Yep.
Just like
Exactly. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. I just don't understand it. Well, you know, we could talk about this every show, and we apparently we do. So, so what about the playoffs, Webbs? What are you seeing out there right now from the teams as you're watching them? What do you like? What do you don't like? What? Yeah, because I've seen some things that I was just like, oh my God, really, guys? Come on.
Well, I read some things about bullpenning and Craig Counsell, and I think yesterday Craig Counsell pulled a 2016 Joe Madden where it was in his head that the way they do something is more important than having success at what they do. And he was going to do something even if it wasn't in the best interest of his team, which is what Madden did when he brought in the lefty in that game that he force-fed who's the lefty? John Lester. He had no business bringing in John Lester in that game. Hendrickson, I think, was the pitcher at the time. He was cruising. And he almost literally gave the Cleveland Indians the World Series. The Cubs really saved his bacon in that game. Yesterday, Counsell, for some reason I will never – well, I do know. Their philosophies become a religion. And they get this thought in their head that no matter what's happening, Miley could have been throwing a perfect game. We have to get our bullpen in the game because that's what we do. Well, what you did yesterday was you went to your bullpen too early. You fished for a guy who would eventually cough up the game. You found that guy. And now you may have also found your way out of the World Series because that could be the game that makes you lose the playoffs. So that's what I saw yesterday. I also saw Dave Roberts basically use his whole bench, his entire team into the fifth inning. I don't know. Look,
What?
I like Dave Roberts seems like a nice guy, but he's another awful manager. Awful.
He's terrible. I would put him right there with Gabe Kapler if you ask me.
Yeah, he's in the Gabe. I think he went to the Gabe Kapler. I think he's another guy. They think that the way we do it is more important than doing it, in the moment in a way that wins you a ball game. On the other side of the coin, I think the Red Sox and the Astros are heads and shoulders above these two teams in the National League. And the Astros look really tough. They really do. And the Red Sox, I don't know what's going on right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if David Price has given up 7 runs by now. Usually, but a 4th inning, he's like giving up 7 runs. When you're down 1-0 and you got to hand the ball to David Price, that doesn't make you feel really secure.
No, not at all. Not at all. I would say David Price is soft at best. At best, soft.
Soft.
Yeah, soft.
Soft. He's Cho. Like in Hangover 3. He's Cho. Yeah. He's like Pablum. Soft. Please.
So, you know what I saw in the playoff games? And
5-4. I told you. 4 runs, David Price.
So, what I saw in yesterday's game with the Astros and the Red Sox, and this is where it goes back to defense for me. That the guys today play really sloppy defense. Correa.
Absolutely.
Nunez for the Red Sox. Man, I'll tell you what. Yesterday, I saw them both field a ground ball with their glove. They fielded it with their glove hand. Boom. And instead of going in to get the ball, they went to flip it to their other hand instead of going in to get it. And when they went to flip it like that, they missed it on the other side on the exchange.
I had a guy in the Cape tell me that was an efficient way to take the ball out of his glove.
No. I just saw it happen in one game in the big league level twice. Cost the Red Sox runs. Didn't cost the Astros. They wound up winning. But twice in one game. I didn't see that twice in a year back in the 80s. Or what's going on with that?
Well, I think what's going on is that
what is that?
It's a reflection of who we, maybe are a little bit as a society. People don't hold other people's feet to the fire. You don't have managers now that challenge guys after games. What they do is they make excuses for guys. They think that their job is to provide an atmosphere that's safe for all the players, and they never want to, get a player turned off. They are afraid they're going to lose a guy. Whereas years ago, you would say to a guy, "Hey, dude, don't mess with the money here. Let's go, man. You got to be better than that. You have to be better than that." And there isn't there isn't a lot of that going on anymore. There just isn't. Otherwise, you wouldn't have Gary Sanchez. You wouldn't have Machado. There was a time when if you're Manny Machado in a playoff game and you basically walk to first base on a ground ball, your own teammates are going to challenge you on that.
Yeah,
that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, and what about Grandal, the catcher for the Dodgers? Wow, what was he doing?
Wow. I have no idea.
He was missing balls that were like here.
He looked like he was going to cry.
Yeah. He had a tough one. He had a tough night. But yet, he's in the big leagues. I don't know. Is he that good of a hitter? I don't know. It's in the name, Tom. It's in the name. I said this to my catcher the other day, one of my guys. I said, look, you got to catch the ball.
I couldn't agree more.
You're the catcher. It's in the name of the position. Catch.
Right. Anytime there's a doubt as what your top priority is, just read the name of the position. Piazza was a dreadful catcher, but he caught the ball. He couldn't do anything with it once he caught it.
But he caught it.
But he caught the ball.
Yeah, he stopped
Sanchez, I'm sorry, I don't know that I've ever seen this before, is not catching a lot of balls. Yeah. He looks like a guy who never caught before, and the 2 catchers got hurt, and somebody's got to go behind home plate, and he's got to catch. That's what he looks like.
I also don't remember a point in time where the wild pitch or the pass ball were such an issue. Throughout a game. It boggles my mind. Like I don't remember seeing it that much in the past. But now, it's almost like every pitcher and every hitter, or and the catcher, it's every time.
You know what? I started noticing this in 2014 when I was in Brooklyn with the Mets during that summer, and we had 5 catchers, and none of them were good. And I said, how could we have 5 catchers, and none of them are good? And then I went to the Cape, and nobody could catch. And I mean, I look at major league catchers and they can't catch. It's just, I don't know. I do think that catching. I've had a couple of conversations with major league catchers, and one of them, Tom Murphy's a friend of mine, Colorado Rockies, and he said this: we've taken all the athleticism out of catching. We've made it this mechanical position where you're taught how to frame balls and how to stick the glove, and that's why you watch these Japanese kids. They're and the Latin kids tend to be more athletic behind home plate. You know, we're turning this position into hitting now, where it's a science rather than, hey, just get it done, feel your way through it, have soft hands, stick the ball, and do a good job calling pitches. That's not the way it is anymore. And I think framing, especially framing, has done more to hurt defensive catching than anything else.
Brian O'Neill comes on. He says, you talk about great shortstops, but today's shortstops are protected by the rules. And he thinks it was Ron Darling who mentioned how the middle infielders no longer have footwork around the bag. That's true in many cases.
Brian O'Neill is Rookie of the Year right now. We have to have him on a regular basis because he's had a stellar evening contributing. His questions are great. He's absolutely right. I said this. I'm saying this now. I'm all for. Look, the Tejada Chase Utley incident. Again, we are so reactionary as a culture. The Tejada Utley incident was precipitated by Daniel Murphy's inability to give Tejada a good feed. He hung him up. Yep. He threw him a fly ball.
The drive. Yep.
Right? So Tejada then compounded the felony. Rather than taking the out, he knew he had no play. He now tries to make the spectacular play. He turns, and you know what? Chase Utley's a guy who's going to slide hard, and it's this confluence of events coming together that results in a broken leg. So what do? Now, my God, now we have to go so far in the other direction to protect the infielders that we've taken away an aspect of being an infielder that requires a great deal of skill, which is avoiding the oncoming runner. If you're going to take that away, then you could put like a fat kid at second base and he just stands there, takes the throw and throws it. There's no, I'm not saying that you should be able to do what Hal McRae did to Willie Randolph. That was obviously, but you know what? That's why you have umpires. If a guy goes out of his way to get a fielder, he should be ruled out and there should be a double play. And I agree with what Brian O'Neill has said. You now have guys that don't have to be particularly athletic because they can just stand there in the way of the runner and throw the ball.
Yeah. They don't have to do anything. Look. I'll tell you what, when I played shortstop, and you probably had the same thing, there was, when Darryl Boston was on first base, there was a fear that it was going to be a close play at second base.
You knew you had to get out of there. You knew you had to get out of there. I know. Look.
There was a fear. And I'll tell you what, when Darryl Boston hit you, and Darryl Boston crushed me one time, right? Darryl Boston was a big guy. Man, it makes you think. It makes you think, all right, well, I got to get there fast. I got to do what I got to do. Get out of the way. Get rid of the ball quick.
Right, what does it make you do? Be better.
Yes.
It makes you do it better.
Now, you don't have to. Just get to the bag. The guy's he can't even slide into you. He can't. He's got to slide directly into the base. I'm safe. But, that's ridiculous.
David Price, Andy Diorio, David Price just got a standing ovation leaving with one out in the fifth.
In the fifth.
So man on.
4 1/3 innings he pitched. 4 1/3.
Gave up 4 runs and leaves with one runner on, and they're giving him a standing ovation. I guess they are very forgiving. They must have short memories up there in Boston and very low standards because that's a terrible outing in a playoff game. I'm sorry, it is.
4 1/3, you give up 4 runs and you're getting a standing ovation?
It's a shitty outing. Sorry.
Look,
Victor Coco says, we love catchers' communication with pitchers. So do I. That's why managers shouldn't be allowed to call pitches.
Nope. Stay out of it. Let the pitcher and the catcher create a relationship, some kind of chemistry, something going on, So, yeah, I could go on all day about these things. We showed a picture of Vizquel jumping over a runner while turning a double play. You don't need to do that anymore, Brian. You're absolutely right. So.
You used to practice that. You used to actually practice that. You would take the throw, and then jump to avoid the runner. It's, and that was a really cool part of the game. You have to be an athlete to do that. And Andy's right. They are penalizing guys for playing hard. They are.
Yeah. I do want to say this, though, Weber. We talked about our top 5 shortstops. There were 2 guys we didn't mention. I'm going to mention this guy right here. Why didn't we mention this guy? One of the top 5 shortstops in my mind. One of the top 5 people in my mind. I love this guy. One of the top 5 greatest baseball players of all time.
Tommy Weber. Thank you.
You know, his head was immensely large.
Right. Well, that's how I was able to stay down on the ball, because once I got over the ball, my head could never come back up. The physics favored me. So I really had an unfair advantage.
Yes, you did. And we always knew, like, you know, we always knew where you were on the field.
Absolutely.
Just look at it. Where's Weber? Oh, he's right there. Look at it. It's like a balloon going across the field. You can see it everywhere.
Oh, my God.
And this guy. You forgot this guy. This guy who once played for the Thunder Bay Whiskey Jacks. Look at that. Holy crap, he used to be good looking.
Is that bat really that heavy that you can't get it off your shoulder?
Yeah, exactly. It was a heavy one.
That guy, I hit that guy a lot of fungos. Oh my God.
I did take a lot of fungos.
What a pain in the ass you were. Oh, my God.
Hit me some more, because I would stay out there all day. I would not leave. I would just keep right on going. I didn't give a crap.
That was fun. It was all good, man. That was a fun time. Wagner was a great place. That was a great field, real cozy. It's a shame that it's gone, but we had a lot of fun. And you were my first guy ever recruited, and really happy to see how much fun you had in the game, because you worked your ass off. Good for you.
Yeah, it was a fun time. I would not trade it for anything in the world.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure, and Diorio could probably attest to this as well, because he was a co-conspirator. Of the thousands of rules in the NCAA rule book, I'm pretty sure we just about violated every one of them.
Yeah, just about. There might be a couple obscure rules that we missed.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we were there. I remember. Yeah. But, don't let anybody know where the bodies are buried.
That's the way it goes. What you do.
So, I left that picture of me up way too long. That's all I'm saying. So, anyway, we've been on for over an hour, man.
Really?
So,
that went quick.
Yeah, it did go quick.
Another good show.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun talking about the top 5 shortstops. I think we can all agree Ozzie Smith is probably the guy for most of us. But whoever you think, I mean, it's a good list. You got Jeter on there. It's tough for me with Jeter and Ozzie Smith to juggle those two guys. I mean, they're both so good,
Yep.
And
what I like about what I will say this before we go about the array of players is that it really does make you appreciate that there's not only one type of player. That's why all these analytics and this move to sort of make every guy the same. There's only one prototype. Players can have very different styles and makeups and still be great and be very different. They don't have to be the same. You don't have to hit the ball the same way. You don't have to throw the ball the same way. Some guys, as we see throughout history, have gotten it done at a very, very high level in very different ways. And that's what I think you have to let players do.
And that's my philosophy when I work with my guys. I don't try to make them all clones of the same hitting school. I do not.
How could you? Are they the same? If they're the same people, if they're clones, then maybe you can do that. Yeah. But, body types, skill level.
Yeah. Yep. All right, a couple things before we go. A couple more comments that rolled in, and then we will sign off.
What is it? Wagner? Please get more Wagner on Pro Prep.
Yeah, that's a friend of mine from high school. He wants to hear more Wagner stories.
Wagner College?
Yeah, definitely. We got plenty. Don't worry. Andy said, Wagner, we get the death penalty like SMU got if they found out what we were doing. What? Oh, now it's actually on, it's out there in the world. We might get in trouble. Andy Diorio said he's got Ozzie Smith, A-Rod, Ernie Banks, Cal Ripken, Robin Yount before he moved. Yeah, we talked about that, Andy. You should have been on the show earlier. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So, yep. And Greg Maddux probably wouldn't get a look because the radar gun would not be there for him. And we'll talk more about that later. That is very true. There aren't very many pitchers left in the game. Not a lot.
Yeah, yesterday the kid from the Dodgers was throwing like 89, 90 miles an hour and had a great breaking ball and was getting guys out. The other guy, Miley, was throwing 90 miles an hour and was in the game in the 5th inning. He could have gone into the 7th inning.
Yeah. Verlander pitched through that. Remember he had a bump in the road there yesterday where he walked like 3 guys in a row and they scored 2 runs? And my son's like, well, why aren't they taking him out, Dad? And I said, because he's Justin Verlander. They're going to let him work through it, and they're going to let him try and get to the 6th inning, you know? And he's like, what do you mean? I said, well, that's what you do with a guy who can pitch. That's what you do. You let him work through that. He's the best guy you got, even when he's not the best guy you got out there at the moment.
I saw Al Leiter say something that was really salient. He said, well, maybe the answer is you stop taking guys in the minor leagues and after 4 innings and 60 pitches, putting them on the bench, make them work through some trouble. Cultivate guys who could throw longer. Get more innings out of guys. I don't understand why that's not the motivate. That should be a motivating factor right there.
Yeah, absolutely. When my guys get in trouble, I let them out there and I tell them, you got to fight. You got to work your way out of it. Come on, figure it out. You've got to figure it out.
It's not like you're saving guys' health. They're all getting arm injuries. They've never pitched less and never been hurt more. So it's not like you're helping guys from a physical standpoint.
Not at all. So anyway, Webbs, we got to wrap this up, man. We've been on for
Ohio State, baby.
Ohio State.
Here we go. It's my guy, Dom Canzone. Going to get high in the draft, baby. High in the draft. I'm representing him.
Pal Astros.
Pal Astros. Go
Astros. Hey, are you actually going to go into the agent business? Because I'll be like your assistant.
Yeah, I got 2 guys right now. And a few more on the. Why not me? Why not? I love my guys.
Exactly. You take care of them.
Yeah.
Right? You get the best.
And they know I would never screw them, so there you go.
Yeah. There you have it.
And what do you have to do? Just okay. You want to take them in the 3rd round? Okay.
Yeah. All right. It'll cost you this much. Everybody else in the 3rd round got this amount of money. This is what we want. So, you getting yelled at? I hear somebody yelling in the background. I hope not. All right, man.
The only person that yells at me is my wife.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I have a feeling my wife's going to be looking for me soon, too.
She's watching us. Watching us. How do I look, honey?
Hey. All right, man. Let's sign off, dude. Great show. Thanks. Thank you, everybody at home, for joining us. We appreciate it. Renee, Andy, Victor Coco, Danny Ford, Brian O'Neill. Thank you, Brian, for coming on, man. Great questions, great comments. We appreciate it. We will see you guys next time. Tommy Weber. Peace, man.
Love you. Be well, man. Love you.
All right.
Be good, guys.
All right. We'll see you. Good night. Let me find. Whoa, where's my mouse? I can't find my mouse. There it is. All right, man. Good night.
Be good.